Today's hit alternative 89 won the bash. Eli Grimes with you here on the alternative hit station. Joining me is Alec Koukol of Safari Room, an indie rock band based out of Nashville, Tennessee. Alec, can you tell me a little bit about Safari Room?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said before, Nashville indie rock, kind of like Death Cab for Cutie, The National, Grizzly Bear, stuff like that. Kind of introspective, emotional rock. I think it's kind of hard to explain it sometimes, but I think you just kind of got to listen to it to really get the full picture of what we've got going on with Safari Room.
So you want to know something crazy? Right before, while I was preparing for this interview, I was listening to your music, and I was thinking of potential influences, and the first band that came to mind was Death Cab for Cutie.
Heck yeah. No, I'm a longtime fan of the band, and can't unbake that from my brain as far as how much I've listened to them and how much they've probably influenced me in the music that I've created, especially through Safari Room. So I'm glad, in a way, it's good to know that it sounds similar. Hopefully it doesn't sound too similar.
No, definitely. I think every artist kind of takes their own inspiration from, more like established, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And it helps to kind of like, I don't know, gateway people into it, where it's because I know sometimes people shy away from like, well, I don't want to like bring too much comparison, because then if you say you sound like Death Cab, for instance, and then you don't, then it's like immediately like it turns binary of like 0 or 1. It's like, oh, you do sound like them, I like that, or you don't sound like them, how dare you mislead me?
No, that is a great point. I
appreciate the compliment through that.
No, absolutely. Right on the head, right on the nail.
Oh, yeah.
Some other bands I've kind of, while listening to your discography, that I kind of heard these elements from. Young the Giant, I got some vibes from that. A little bit of Foo Fighters. I don't think you guys are as heavy, but I still pick up that vibe. Some Black Keys, and even some Sam Fender from you guys. I didn't know how you kind of felt about that.
Yeah, that's an interesting array. So I only have just recently started listening to Young the Giant.
Yep.
And truly like last year or so, and only because no diss to their music, it never kind of crossed my path.
Right.
But a lot of people have told me that we sound like them. And so I gave it a listen, and I can see the resemblance. But it's kind of funny how that all comes out in the wash, I guess, a little bit, where it's like, oh, I'd never listened to them, but maybe they also had similar influences to where we all kind of start sounding familial, I suppose. But then as far as like Foo Fighters and Black Keys, I grew up listening to both of those bands.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's a fun comparison. And actually, Sam Fender, I've actually never listened to his music. So, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I encourage you to give him a listen. I think you could see some similarities there. But
yeah, and I feel like I've heard there's a band called Elbow out of the UK. The lead singer, Guy Garvey, I feel like I listened to an interview or something with him where he was gushing about Sam Fender at one point. So if nothing else, like I've heard the name, heard he's great, and I just probably need to give it a listen.
Another thing that stuck out to me, we'll kind of get away. Well, we'll get back to it, obviously, but
absolutely.
Safari Room. I love the indie and alternative genre when it comes to band names, because it seems like every band name I've ever seen from an indie rock band is the most clever and most unique thing in the world. We were just talking about Death Cab for Cutie and Young the Giant, that kind of thing. So
just fun names.
Yeah, absolutely. Where did Safari Room come from, and what kind of inspired that?
Yeah, I don't exactly know like the seedling of where it came from, but the idea that I kind of weaved behind it is, so Safari Room is basically the idea that you can reframe or refocus your perception of your surroundings through creativity and through kind of imaginative escapism. So that's a very heady way to talk about it. But it's kind of we use music and we use that kind of communication in order to better push through difficult times and scenarios. So I think that's where Safari Room for me comes from. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like Vampire Weekend, where it just ends up being like, oh, that's just a cool name.
Yeah.
It's a fun way where it came from. But at the end of the day, hopefully the music ends up speaking for itself in its title. So
yeah, very
a big heady answer, but
that's
kind of where I go for.
No, I absolutely love it. I love hearing, those stories of how bands get their names and kind of the roller coaster of how, because some band names start with a different title and then they transform that way and that kind of thing. And I was just super curious of where that came from. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, is it like, I know there's something in Pokemon called like the Safari Zone. And sorry, my dog is being grumbly.
No, that's all right.
I know like some people, there's a few other origins that people have surmised. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you. And sometimes you never know if you'll get like a cool road trip story about, in that kind of thing. And you never know where that'll come from.
Absolutely. And I think there is actually a Safari Room in LA or something in California that it's like, oh man, do we need to send them like a cease and desist?
Right.
We have the same name.
Or expect one in the mail from them. Yeah.
Right. And if that's the case, then I need to start cooking up another heady name, I suppose, or just something dumb. I mean, like one of my favorite band names of all time is Spoon. And it's just like, well, that's obviously taken.
Fork.
But it's like, fork, knife. And there's even bands like Cake, Bread, Elbow, like all these bands that are like, how did they get to it first and how wasn't it taken when they got to it?
That's super interesting. The next thing I was going to ask is, Nashville is kind of classified and I think generally known, it's Music City, but at the same time, I think there's a stigma that it is a country artist city, that kind of thing. So, from a guy that came from Omaha, what drove you to kind of make it to Nashville, and what drove that decision?
Yeah, I think when I graduated from high school in 2013, I think I wasn't necessarily looking to just abscond to a different state or a different city without kind of some foundation. So I knew I wanted to go to college. And so I was deciding between Berkeley or Belmont, got into both schools, and then ended up picking Belmont just because I wasn't as interested in like the conservatory aspect of things. And maybe this was, hindsight's a little 2020, but I've noticed, even being in Nashville for 10 years, I'm glad that I moved here and perhaps not like LA or New York, because now I'm seeing like a huge pipeline of people coming from those cities to Nashville. And so maybe that's, like I said, it's good to see that I maybe made a right call for me without totally knowing it. But yeah, I mean, it's a huge music capital for country. But it's also just, it drives so many musicians into Nashville that there's so much music coming out that, it's almost too much music at a certain point if everyone's trying to do it. And it maybe sometimes feels a little filled to the gills. But it's been a good city to foster new music and a new music project. Whereas I don't know if 10 years ago I saw that same possibility coming from Omaha, at least for me, personally. So,
yeah, I've got some buddies that live down in Nashville, and they say that there's plenty of, clubs to go to with music and, the kind of dive bar scene with that kind of thing with music in that way.
Yeah. And I mean, there's obviously like the Las Vegas of the South, Broadway,
right?
It's like there's definitely that. Safari Room isn't necessarily something that exists down in that capacity,
right?
that's more of like the cover and whatnot, cover shows and dancing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But Safari Room is more of like the local DIY music scene, which definitely has its spot and has its place in Nashville. But I also look at Nashville as just like a decently located city geographically. It's like 7 hours from Chicago, and like, I don't know, 4 hours to Atlanta. Like there's a decent radius around it to have a successful touring ensemble as well, to like be able to reach a bunch of cities within a day's drive. So I think that's a big thing too. Whereas other cities, even perhaps Omaha, it's a little tougher to get to some other markets. So, and that's speaking purely as like business brain,
right? Yeah,
touring guy.
No, that is a great point. I hadn't even really thought about that, but I guess when you mention it, it is a pretty good spot for artists to come through and really make their mark.
Yeah, and I think it's just because there's so many people here trying to make things happen. It's like you can't throw a rock without hitting someone who plays an instrument, is looking to do music, has maybe retired but still active in some way. Like everyone's in their own phase of life in some way, shape, or form, possibly tied to music. So, which is very cool and very inspiring, and kind of creates a cool community of people.
Absolutely. Well, we'll take a short break, but don't go anywhere because Alec is going to stay with us. We're going to play one of their hit singles, Blunderbuss, right here on today's Hit Alternative at Safari Room, right here on 89.1 The Bash. Stay tuned.
I believe that someone will take me home tonight, and I believe that someone is you. Someone I can trust, or at least that's what you want me to believe. So trust in you I will. I hold on to your shoulder. You lead me through a menagerie of life and the loudest place on earth. You guide me through the hallways. Flashing lights and warning signs ignite as we reach the open door. Isn't it a wonder? We put our faith in a stranger's face, hoping that they might be our fire escape. Just hope it's not a blunderbuss pointed at our face. Someone to hold. The lines are getting blurry, somewhere between what I want and what I need, and I'm not so sure it's this. Say don't be in a hurry. We've got all night and you've got your life to find someone to set you free. Isn't it a wonder? We put our faith in a stranger's face, hoping that they might be our fire escape. Just hope it's not a blunderbuss pointed at our face. We're all looking for someone to hold.
today's hit alternative, you just heard Blunderbuss by Safari Room right here on 89.1 The Bash, the alternative hit station. Alec, what really inspired you, and what's the inspiration, I guess, behind that song, Blunderbuss?
Yeah, Blunderbuss, to me, it came from maybe a pragmatic or questioning stance on hookup culture, and just how it doesn't ever feel that, I don't know, I guess, safe / connected. Like it comes from a very dispassionate place in some ways, and kind of that whole who can you trust, and it's kind of a weird experience to have that kind of the hookup culture stuff. I don't know if I'm explaining it.
No, that definitely makes a lot of sense. I think, I think in today's culture, there's a lot of people that are, just struggling to find that kind of intimacy anywhere, and that not just in regards to relationships, but just in general, I think. So that's a great inspiration behind that one.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a great word is intimacy, and trying to decide, asking oneself, is an experience like that intimate, or is that the intimacy that you want? And obviously, to each their own, to whatever folks are looking for. I've just found that that makes me question more than it gives me answers. And so that's kind of where Blunderbuss came from.
Absolutely. Well, be sure to stream that one on Spotify and wherever you can find music. Blunderbuss by Safari Room, wherever you can find it. That brings a great segue to my next question. When describing your music and your band, you bring up human connection, and I want to know how much of a factor that plays into your band and your discography as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say it's a defining cornerstone of what Safari Room is all about. I think in a lot of ways, music is a huge function of connectivity and connection throughout humankind. I feel like we seek a lot of help from musicians and music and that kind of stuff to process outside of other people. And so going to music for those answers and that kind of, I guess, balm for emotions is something that I have experienced as a consumer. And so it's something that I want to engage with and create as a producer of music and a artist in that realm.
Yeah, I really do like that. I think what you said there about music being one of the defining factors of human connection and that kind of thing is so true. And I think a lot of people think that way, but they don't necessarily express it.
Yeah, and I think I've found that music has always been there for me, whether I'm on a high or on a low, or even just existing in the minutia of life. And I think most people would agree with that. And so I think it's kind of a partner that you're always linked arms with. They're always sitting on your shoulder. And so I think to offer that up to other people and make that something that can perhaps help other people. I know mental health has taken a huge, maybe it's taken a larger slice of the public eye. It's becoming more and more prescient and prevalent to people in conversation, like even just daily conversation, especially after COVID, of just watching out for people and making sure people are okay, and perhaps destigmatizing mental health. And so I think that's a lot of my lyrical content and songwriting is about mental health and working through stuff like that. And in a world where it's still maybe not something everyone wants to talk about with everyone they're around, or even with the professional, I do find music has therapeutic value. And so I'm not saying that I'm some kind of therapist, but It is something where it's like, I think musicians end up being kind of pseudo therapists for everyone, for anyone that might be looking for that kind of therapy. And that might be like little t therapy, as opposed to all caps therapy. Yeah. But Yeah, I think it's whatever I can offer creatively to help anyone else, I think is a worthwhile endeavor.
No, I love that. And I love the concept of music being an outlet for mental health and that kind of aspect.
Yeah, and I've just watched so much music as of late and so much new creation be about that. Like even, I don't know, listen to more popular music like the new Olivia Rodrigo record.
Yeah.
I've only listened to it once now, but it's just like she's very much talking about her deep, intense feelings.
Yes,
and so it's
yes.
like, so getting, and even just how emo music has come back into the fold. It's far more popular than it was when I was in middle school and high school, but it's cool to see that. And maybe it's a trendy thing, but it is becoming more prevalent for people to be open about. And so I think that's to kind of bring it all home is that's the human connection and making people feel safe and accepted no matter on what terms.
No, I love that. I absolutely love that. So we'll take another short break here. This is Small Victories by Safari Room. We're here with Alec Koukol of Safari Room. Stay tuned right here on 89.1 The Bash, today's hit alternative.
I've been waiting here for so long, trying to pick up all the pieces. I have done this once before. They're all scattered on the floor, but I go dancing in my head. It's just one last thing before I have to go away. Try to turn back all the clocks. I'm gonna change the score. When I lose, it's just a game, and I'm the fool, always coming back for more. 'Cause every second that I waste is a minute lost to farther time. Second chances, throwing ashes in the sea. What's it all for? I get lost inside my head, spinning closer to the edge. Then I found you in the car. You didn't have to say a word. I got right in. You took me far away from everything. Now please don't let me fall apart.
Today's hit alternative, you just heard Small Victories from Safari Room. Alec Koukol still here with me of the band. Alec, I've got a question for you, and it's regarding your discography and what you feel so far in your musical career from your band. What do you feel like the magnum opus of your band has been? What's the song that really sticks out to you as being like one tier above the rest, I guess?
Well, first off, that's a fabulous question, and perhaps difficult to answer. But I suppose I kind of have to go. I mean, I can pick my favorite songs, but I think with how Safari Room operates and the ethos of what I'm trying to do with the music, I kind of have to listen to the people. And so from all accounts, really, our Safari Room song "One Day Here" off our first record, "Look Me Up When You Get There," is probably, I would say, our magnum opus. It's one of the first songs we released, and at this point, it's highest streamed. I think we've almost played 100 shows, and I think we've played at every single show. So I got to go with that one, and I think it stands for a lot of what the music, kind of what you and I've already talked about while we've been chatting, about what Safari Room stands for. Introspection, dealing with hard times and difficult moments, and being able to 180 that, process it, and turn it around for someone else to be able to process. So it's about grief. It's about love and all that kind of, I don't know. It's a tough song to sometimes get through just in the story behind it, but hopefully it also creates an open door for other people to process along with. So.
No, absolutely. One Day Here, available once again on Spotify and everywhere you listen to music. Be sure to stream Safari Room. You can also listen to it right here on today's hit alternative, 89.1 The Bash. And for the main reason that we're really, I won't say the main reason we're talking, but a big reason is that you have an event coming up in Evansville, Indiana. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, we are playing at your brother's bookstore with Hannah Evelyn Trio and why am I blanking?
Tearful Warning?
Edit this. Tearful Warning, my bad.
No, that's all right.
I was trying to make sure my dog wasn't going to attack the mailman.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Tearful Warning and Hannah Evelyn Trio and Safari are playing at your brother's bookstore on Saturday, October 14th. And I'm super excited. I've heard great things about Evansville in its quality of fan and music listener and music scene. So we have some friends in town that have gushed about it. We've actually had some fans and friends from Evansville come to see shows in Nashville. So hopefully bringing the party to y'all will be a great time.
No, Evansville is a great city. It almost feels like kind of like a small town feel, but with a big city, in my opinion. So I think that would be a great opportunity for you guys and everyone in the area.
That just sounds like Omaha at this point.
Yeah.
It's a big old city, but it still has that nice Midwest feel to it.
Absolutely.
So, no, I'm super excited. We've never played Evansville before, but hopefully it's a good time. And I'm just excited to play at a bookstore. I don't know. Like, that just sounds like a wild ruckus of a time to me. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like it'll be a good time. Once again, you said Saturday, October 14th of this year.
That is correct.
Doors open 7:30, and the show starts at 8:30. All ages available, and tickets are about $10.
I believe so. Yep, at the door. I don't know if we're doing pre-sale, but it'll be a great time. Tickets at the door. So.
Absolutely. That sounds like an awesome time. Once again, Safari Room, Hannah Evelyn Music, and Tearful Warning at Your Brother's Bookstore. That's 504 Main Street in Evansville, Indiana. Once again, October 14th on Friday. Doors open 7:30 p.m. The show starts at 8:30. All ages available and $10 tickets. Once again, he says that not sure if pre-sale, but I'm sure we'll figure that out in the long run.
Yes, I think it's just at the door. I was just about to check my computer, but I think it's just at the door. And whether it's pre-sale or not, you can always get tickets at the door. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Once again, that sounds like it'll be a great time. I encourage anybody in the Evansville area and the surrounding counties and cities to come on out and support Safari Room and Alec Koukol here at Your Brother's Bookstore in Evansville. Alec?
I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Alec, before we get off of here, is there anything you would like to tell anybody that maybe is not necessarily hesitant, but haven't heard of you guys before, or encourage them to come on out and, or even just stream your music or listen and figure out what Safari Room is all about?
Yeah, I guess I'll give an elevator pitch. Safari Room has two full albums out and a couple EPs. We're putting a third album out in February 2024. So if you like emotive and earnest indie rock along the lines of Death Cab for Cutie, Young the Giant, and whatnot, give us a listen. One Day Here is kind of a good song to start with. And our newest record, Complex Houseplants, was a record we did during COVID and has, from what I've been told, helped a lot of people through some difficult times. So hopefully it will also be the new music you didn't know you didn't need, or you didn't know you needed.
Yeah.
No, didn't know you needed as opposed to didn't know you didn't need. So
absolutely.
Maybe that's a little bit long of an elevator pitch, but
no, we were headed.
Appreciate anyone who checks it out. So
yeah, we were headed to the 100th floor, so we got time.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
No, absolutely. I encourage anybody once again to listen to Safari Room. I listened through their discography and I was super impressed, and I love finding new. Absolutely, you guys are killing it. So keep it up.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. I love finding new indie rock bands, alternative rock, anything I can get my hands on. I love discovering new artists, and I once again encourage anybody else that's looking for new music to head on over to Safari Room wherever you listen to music and find them and add some songs to your playlist as I have.
Excellent. Exactly. And kind of a friend told me recently, every large band at one point was a small band. So you got to support the little guys too.
Yes, I love that.
Support small and local music. So
perfect. Well, I think that's all we have here for you on 89.1 The Bash, today's hit alternative. Alec, thank you once again for your time and everything.
Thank you, Eli. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to hanging out in Evansville for a day next week, actually. So,
absolutely. Sounds good. Well, we'll leave you with Best of Me from Safari Room. Alec, thanks again. And we'll leave you, once again, Best of Me by Safari Room right here on today's hit alternative 89.1, The Bash.
Wear it on your shoulder, wear it on your sleeve, wear it in your hair tied up so everyone will be aware. Go and write a novel about it, a story nobody will read, and if they do, will anyone understand, or will they hide it 6 feet deep? It's getting the best of me. It's getting the best of me. It's getting the best. up on my feet again. Tossing, turning, tumbling, turned around. Look up and you will find me. My cloud